You know, I'm incredibly worried about Joe right now. It's not the fact that he passed out at the end of the episode. It's the fact that when we got our first glimpse of Joe in this episode, he was using the bathroom and he was legit peeing blood. It was very subtle, but he was definitely peeing blood. Now, I know for a fact when you get into boxing, fighting, and stuff like that, it's common to have some blood in your pee. That's a common thing. But at the same time, though, just the sheer difference in color, like the tone of his pee that was really red, showed that his injuries were really serious. Like, if he continues, there might be some potential possibility for maybe kidney failure or something like that if he continues doing what he's doing. That's why I'm truly scared for Joe right now, because it's not the fact that he got, eliminated technically in this episode. It's just the fact that, his injuries are so bad right now that he should honestly not fight anymore for a very long time, but that is obviously not gonna happen, so he could potentially die. And let's not even get into the fact that every single episode has something to do with death, dead, whatever. I mean, the ending of the episode always ends off with not dead yet. So, I mean, when you look at these little things here and there, it's constantly been hinting at the fact that death is always creeping up on Joe. It's one step away from him. And this episode proves that. Joe has taken more than he can handle. For instance, his body cannot handle anymore. His mind may want to go on. He may want to keep fighting, but his body's like, not happening. And he collapses in this episode. So let's get all into that. So Joe, he loses, effectively. Like, he kind of gets disqualified in the match he had set up against Mikio in this episode. Now, the reason why is because Mikio played very dirty. He used the things he found out about Joe against him. For instance, he's like, you have a fake ID. And if I was to reveal this to the public, well, guess what? GG to you ever getting into Megalodonia and all that. That's not happening at all. So he kind of blackmailed Joe. If you come into the ring, even if you beat me, it's going to disqualify you because you have a fake ID. So obviously Joe couldn't fight, even if he was in prime condition. Like, okay, example, even if Joe's body was not messed up in this episode and he was to go and fight, even if he was to beat Mikio, if he was to bring up the fact that he had a fake ID, automatically disqualified, he would get fined or whatever would happen. We don't know exactly the laws of this verse, Megalobox, but we know for a fact it would be very, very bad. So because of all this, he was cornered no matter what happened, if he was healthy or not. So in the grand scheme of things, him getting disqualified at the end of this episode, it was the best thing for Joe, because if he would have went into that ring with his injuries, he would have obviously lost, because just one hit to the gut, it's over. Mikio obviously isn't someone that is relatively a pushover. He's not a weakling by any means, especially after the characterization he got with this episode. So when you look at all these factors, Joe getting disqualified was the best outcome. I mean, it hurts his chances into getting into the actual competition, but at the same time, it saves his life for the time being, for he can fight another day. And I feel like that's kind of what Nambu really wanted to prove right there. He's like, look, we might not be able to go further right now, but it's best if we tap out right now while we still can, and that is why he punched Joe and put him down, which I really like how that scene was done. It kind of represents the fact of how Nambu is always lying. He is a known liar, and he even says in his episode once again that he doesn't care about Joe at all. He even tells that straight to Joe's face, like, I don't care about you at all and all that. But in reality, he does. I mean, it was common sense thanks to the last episode we got with Aragaki, but with this one too, with him punching Joe like he did, in turn, he did save himself from issues, but he also saved Joe, because if Joe would have went into that ring, he would have died. So, Nambu, once again, saving the day and being a good man, showing that he's not a heinous individual that's just out for himself, even though he likes to act like he is. So, anyways, let's talk about one big conflict that this episode was trying to bring up. So, Mikio, obviously, is kind of like more along the lines of trying to prove a point to Yuki. For instance, Yuri's master, the person that, watches over him and sets up his matches, or coach. Basically, Mikio, he is the brother of her. The person that kind of is sponsoring this entire, tournament, and he's trying to prove a point. If he wins, gets on top, then most likely it's going to make him look good to everybody on the board meeting, and he might be able to get, Yuki's spot, be able to be the new, chief of the entire company, and that's what we have going on. That's the conflict that is building up, because here's the examples and the reasons why. See, in the episode, we see how Yuki is trying to showcase that Yuri is way above anything anyone's ever seen when it comes to, Megalo Box, because he is obviously someone that's in tune with his gear. He literally is man and gear all combined into one. It's no longer just stuff he puts on. It's literally integrated into his body. And she's kind of showcasing that her technology is very advanced. It's, something that anyone would want to have. And in this case, if Yuri gets to the end of the tournament and wins, it's kind of like she's showcasing or advertising his gear, and then everybody's going to want to get in and buy it. That's kind of what the reasoning is for Yuri right now, for what I'm getting from Yuki, and why she wants him to fight so bad and reach the ending. While Mikio, he is someone that actually wants to beat Yuri for he can get on top and then sell his gear, which will be advertised because it beats something like Yuri's gear, which is the champion, and then in turn it also make him look good on the board, which he would eventually probably take, Yuki's spot. Because there was obviously a dispute with the board meeting. When, Yuki was in the room, they were having constant disputes back and forth. It's kind of like Yuki's on her own side. She is by herself, like everybody else on the committee meeting and all that, the board meeting, they're all against her, which is not good. She's around a pack of wolves that just want to see her fail. And so whatever decision she makes or whatever she does from this point forward, it will have negative repercussions. And that is kind of why she did not want Mikio to win or even be a part of the tournament in the first place, because if he does win, she will automatically lose all her reputation and everything that she has with the company, and he will take her spot. So, I like that. I like that conflict going on with this episode. It is subtle and not subtle at the same time. It depends on the way you view it. But I do wonder if she's going to set up a rematch between Mikio and, Joe. Because when you think about it, Joe didn't pop up because of some dirty foul play. But at the same time, Joe had it coming because he is technically... He has a fake ID. So it does make sense. Regardless of, being crusty or whatever, he does have a fake ID at the end of the day. And so I feel like the way this is going to go is that Yuki, she's going to find out about this, because she obviously knows. She obviously knows about, Joe and his origins and stuff. I feel like she might create him a real ID, something real, and then he will have another shot to truly fight Mikio and prove himself. And this will be after he's kind of recovered a little bit to where he can put up a fight. I feel like that's what's going to happen. I could be wrong there. I could not be predicting it right, but that seems like the likely outcome. That, Yuki might create him a real ID to give him another shot. I mean, she obviously has the, the backing, the political influence to be able to create something like Yuri's, gear and stuff. So she has the money to do it. She probably has the political pool and all of that. So it's clear as day that she could potentially do something like this. I mean, yeah, it just seems like common sense to me. One little thing I do want to point out is that Joe's reputation has skyrocketed. Now, we have seen this already throughout the previous episodes, that his reputation... it's becoming very big. Everybody knows about him. Everybody's, talking about him. When they're talking about two different fighters going in the ring against each other, another fighter having, a news reporter up in their face, they're usually mentioning Joe. Gearless Joe. Gearless Joe. And throughout this episode at the beginning, you see how Joe's entire reputation has spread all around. He even has people getting tattoos of him. You got people, spray painting him on walls. Just, he's all over the place. Which shows that the general populace, they actually like Joe quite a bit. And so that is the reason why, many want him back in, why they want him to be a part of the tournament in the first place. So because of his reputation and how much backing he has, it would not be good for the company, even if they're against Joe, to turn around and just throw him under the bus and not allow him to participate. Because if they did that, it would be bad PR and make them look completely bad, because it wouldn't make sense. So because of his reputation, I think that's what's really going to lead to a lot of things. Just because, Yuki might create him a real ID, what really will come down to it is the fact that the populace loves him so much that they'll probably back him to where they want to see him have a true fight and have an actual chance to get into the tournament. So, yeah, speaking of the tournament and stuff, I do like how Yuki states that Joe, she allows anyone a chance to be in the tournament besides people without gear, which makes sense. Once again, as I've stated many times throughout my reviews of this series, Joe being gearless, it goes against the entire message or meaning of Megalo Box, especially what, Yuki's trying to do right now. She's trying to advertise Yuri's equipment and all that for selling. Obviously, if Joe makes it up to the very top, even if he is defeated defeated by Yuri, okay? Let's just do an example. Even if Joe is defeated by Yuri, okay? The thing is that Joe managed to get that high up without gear, which completely undermines everything that's established about Megalo boxing, all the gear. Gear is effectively pointless. So she doesn't want that. Even if Joe is defeated, it will still make them all look bad. It would undermine them quite a bit, because many will say, whoa, wait a minute, if this person that came out of nowhere, this no name with no gear and all that, is able to do this, what if someone like, equivalent to Yuri's level was to go without gear? Would they be crazy, insanely powerful? That's kind of what, the point and the message here is. So, if Joe can do it, then other people could do it, and then it would just ruin the entire image. Okay, anyways, let's also talk about the fact that Joe's injuries, with the way it's going, it's very apparent that they're trying to set up the fact that he's potentially going to die. I mean, even if he recovers from these injuries, I feel like the main message here is that what's going to really come down to is probably something critical, like organ failure or something like that when it comes to him, because with all these fights he's been having, and they're getting harder and harder, higher level fights, obviously there's going to be a limit to his body. He may have a good mind, good fighting skills, but his body has a limit. That's just how it is. And if he continues to participate in these fights without gear, it's going to just put more and more damage to his body. And I feel like before everything is said and done, he might have to equip, gear to be able to fight against Yuri or other people in the higher levels of Megalo boxing. So I do hope that happens. It would be a very nice twist, but tell me your thoughts in the comments below how you felt about this week's episode of Megalo Box. Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? Please be honest in the comments below. And if you enjoy my content, please subscribe, and I love you guys. Have a wonderful, wonderful day or night, no matter where you live. Please be safe. And also, if you want to get notified for whenever I upload a video, please click the bell icon down below. Chibi out.